The global digital travel economy has centralized into a landscape managed by a few systemic gatekeepers. Trip.com Group Limited utilized aggressive market consolidation to secure a commanding share of the Asian online travel market, expanding its footprint into Europe by acquiring brands like Skyscanner. That expansion met a significant hurdle when disclosures regarding the company's operational practices preceded a 19% drop in its stock price. This financial volatility triggered a securities fraud class action in the United States. The investigation focuses on whether executives misled investors regarding the sustainability of their business model and the true nature of their algorithmic pricing tools. In Beijing, the State Administration for Market Regulation, or SAM, initiated an antitrust probe. SAM is China's primary market regulator, and they are examining allegations of monopolistic coercion, specifically practices that deprive merchants of pricing autonomy. These international legal challenges highlight a specific tension between the platform's data architecture and its obligations under global consumer protection frameworks. Claim 2026 Mollio provides a detailed record of this tension. It contains a 5-year transaction and communication audit between the platform and a single user. The record suggests that individual consumer disputes often reflect the same systemic data strategies identified in the larger regulatory probes. Auditing this single case reveals the specific interaction between Trip.com's internal policies and the requirements and international law. This audit centers on a January 2026 incident at the Sen Boutique Hotel in Da Nang, Vietnam. A traveler and his 65-year-old mother were assigned a room with noise levels measured at 72 decibels and exposed, physically dangerous electrical wiring. The user contacted Trip.com support at 1 a.m. Despite the safety risks, the platform offered no immediate relocation or alternative housing, leaving the travelers to find their own accommodation in the middle of the night. In response to the emergency, Trip.com cited its status as a digital intermediary. This classification is the company's primary defense, used to claim no responsibility for the physical safety hazards of their partners. The agent told the user to wait 3 hours for an email. This defense conflicts with Article L211-16 of the French Tourism Code. The law establishes strict liability, meaning the travel professional is responsible for the execution of services, regardless of who provides them. Trip.com's terms of service are drafted to bypass these specific consumer mandates. By identifying solely as an intermediary, the platform attempts to shift the legal burden of safety entirely onto the local provider. The intermediary classification allows the platform to collect service fees and manage the booking, while detaching itself from the financial and legal consequences of service failures. This sequence in Da Nang illustrates the company's broader approach to using algorithmic distancing to separate the point of transaction from the point of accountability. To resolve the safety incident, Trip.com offered compensation of €15. This was issued as Trip Coins, the platform's proprietary digital tokens. The user rejected the tokens, demanding reimbursement in euros. The dossier argues internal digital points do not meet legal requirements for civil reparation in the Eurozone. This dispute led to a wider audit of the user's history, involving €15,000 in transactions over 5 years. This chart shows the difference between standard interbank exchange rates and the inflated rates applied by Trip.com. The audit indicates the platform applies unconsented margins, creating a black box where the user cannot see the exact cost of currency conversion. Tripcoins serve to retain consumer capital within the ecosystem. By offering points instead of currency after a service failure, the platform ensures that the value of the refund can only be spent back with them. These practices fall under EU Directive 2009/110/EC. This directive regulates the issuance of electronic money, which is a digital representation of monetary value, and requires a formal banking license to ensure the protection of the funds. Trip.com operates this synthetic currency as a formal reimbursement method, while entirely lacking the specific financial authorizations required by European banking regulations. The use of these synthetic structures allows the platform to bypass standard reimbursement rights and maximize its retention of consumer capital. Because the user is based in Paris, the company is subject to the GDPR, the European Union's primary framework for protecting personal data and privacy. The user requested audio logs of the calls Trip.com made to the hotel during the incident. The platform refused, citing commercial confidentiality. Under Article 15 of the GDPR, citizens have the right to access any personal data processed by a company. This includes call recordings containing the user's voice. The dossier identifies this refusal as a breach of that right. This diagram shows 8 GDPR violations identified by the audit. Withholding call recordings prevents the user from accessing essential evidence. Furthermore, Trip.com failed to provide required legal safeguards for transferring European citizen data outside the EU. This obstruction is compounded by the violation of the Loi Tauban. This French law requires that all communications related to consumer contracts be in French. By responding to French consumers in English, Trip.com introduces a deliberate linguistic barrier to the dispute resolution process. Restricting data access and introducing linguistic hurdles can exhaust the resources of consumers who attempt to exercise their legal rights. The Mollio Dossier provides a window into the mechanisms cited in global regulatory probes against Trip.com. This map links the European data disputes to the monopolistic coercion under investigation in Beijing and the securities fraud case in New York. Each case revolves around the platform's control and restriction of critical operational data. Precedent is already forming. In Hu v. Trip.com, the platform was convicted of consumer fraud for obscuring the use of third-party agents and hiding the actual terms of the booking. The investors in the U.S. class action claim that billions in value were lost because the company concealed these regulatory risks. The platform's current model relies on the difficulty individual users face when trying to independently audit these transactions. That dynamic is changing. International regulators and class action attorneys are beginning to converge on the same data. Trip.com's model faces a conflict with the transparency and liability requirements of the modern digital economy. The intermediary shield is confronting the reality of the data it sought to compartmentalize.